I mean, we have a few very powerful voices in the community, and I think they should be using it for positive change rather than social media clout is like my biggest thing. And I think Azul is the biggest, the best example of someone who only uses their voice for positive change, and we see the positive change happening when he says something. So.
Yo, what up, guys? Welcome to Faded Town, number one Pokemon podcast in the world. These are facts. Look them up in a book, Google them, Pokestats them. I know y'all are on Twitter crying all the time. It's probably on Twitter. You just have to look that up too. You can make a Twitter post about that. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, which like more than 80% of you guys don't hit the subscribe button for some reason. I don't understand it. It's just a button, just hit it. Please. Please. I don't even know at this point. Just hit the subscribe button. Comments. I reply to every comment down below. If you got something to say, you want something to go on the podcast, anything like that, leave a comment down below. Yeah. I guess like it. Don't like it, dislike it, do whatever you do. All right, but we got a lot going on this week. We had news that dropped the same day that we dropped the podcast, like normal. So probably when you're watching this, there'll probably be a whole new update on all this that's gonna happen on the same day. So
yeah,
that's just how it works on this podcast. We at one point we changed the podcast to like Fridays to avoid that.
I remember
and then
that,
and then it happened, like still happened. I was like, all right, whatever. We'll talk about that news, then we'll talk about thoughts on Baltimore. What won? There's 2 other regionals this weekend that won. We'll kind of just wrap up the Pokemon Go era, Worlds era, whatever.
Yeah. The format,
yeah. And then we'll talk about Baltimore, our experiences, and then we'll move on to Lost Origins and how much I think it's a lot more fun out there. But,
yeah, that's cool. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Let's kind of jump into Baltimore. We had Piper win with Charizard, which
huge congrats to Piper, by the way. Like when I know, like at the beginning of last season, or like when we came back from COVID, a lot of players were dismissing some of these age ups into our meta, myself included. Like I obviously was not the biggest fan of what was happening with all these age ups coming in. But I think that I was very happily proven wrong by Piper and Travis, like 2 of them who kind of immediately showed out. And I remember playing against Piper at EYC, and she was, I could tell like right away, like she was going to be really good. Like I was like, Piper's going to be really, really good. Everyone's got to like watch out for her basically. Like I felt that there. I felt that at an AIC watching her play. Like she is a very good player, and I think that Piper is going to be one of those names where like as we move forward, like it's going to be someone who people will like. I think she will have a lot more accolades coming her way before her time is done in the Pokemon.
I agree. Especially piling that deck. Like even last week, we were like, that was the deck we said not to play unless you are like a top 50.
Yeah, like I said, like I think if you were not proficient with it, I said don't play it, and she was insane with it. So I mean,
she was insane. It was like that. Like when we were going through matchups and stuff with my testing partners and stuff, we're like, Charizard's probably the best, but can you play it at the highest level? And like I couldn't. It was trash.
Watching Piper put on the show that she did was like an absolute masterclass of like how to do it. Like the speed, the proficiency at which she played was just absolutely beautiful to watch. Like I caught top 4 in finals after I made it home because I drove back during top 8 because I was about an hour away, hour and some change. And so I watched top 4 and finals, and watching her put on the show that she did in top 4 and finals, it felt very practiced, very rehearsed, and very clean. It felt very clean to watch, and it was a treat. Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I like to see like those type of decks do really well. If we look at the other 2 regionals, we had a Mew list, which was just standard.
I think like Mew. I saw Franco, I think Takahashi tweet this out after the regionals, that like Mew fills that Night March slot that we have like in every format, like not in every format, but like to some extent,
I
like in some
agree.
formats, we have this like Night March slot that is so inherently powerful that no matter what you do, sometimes you can't beat it if they get to like a good start or like a good setup. And in this instance, it filled that Night March slot. And I think we saw that Mew list or like that version of Mew kind of perform across the board. Not the Fusion one. Like in Bilbao, we saw the Fusion one win, but we saw like in NA with Baltimore, we saw the Fusion-less Mew with Joey Rudiger and Isaac Molaski both taking top 8 slots. And I think Jeremy Gamilla also played the no Fusion. Yeah. So I'm just looking at it. They all played the no Fusion version to great success. And I think we saw a ton more in day 2. So I think that might become the new wave of how to play it moving forward, or like the more popular way.
Yeah, I think the only matchup they don't really like is the Fusion one, which makes it real weird.
The mirror as a whole does not feel like the best or like most skill intensive matchup.
Definitely not. It's definitely just straightforward. I should have played that deck. Kind of deck.
No, for sure. I mean, this deck was something on my Worlds list, like the almost like a few cards off was what I wanted to play for the World Championships, and I kind of regret not playing it there. I regret kind of not playing it here, but I also had a great time with Palkia, so I can't really complain.
Yeah. And then we had, was it the Brazil one?
Porto Alegre, I think I said it right. We had Dalton winning with a very unique. Yeah, we had Dalton winning with a very unique RCS build, capitalizing on just playing 4-path for Barney and playing heavy Sharon's Care, just being able to out heal using Slay King, which is an interesting attacker because it can hit to 280 with the Powerful Energy. And Dalton plays 3 copies of Powerful Energy, and Blissey, not entirely sure how he used the Blissey to full effect. I would love to see the stream if there's one, but I think the idea was just that like you can maybe get off to an early enough lead with your RCS's, power up an early Blissey, get in there, Sharon's Kill, all your energy's back, and like keep going. Or like late game, maybe go into a Blissey when you are like in a Hail Mary spot. I don't know. But either way, like I think the deck is really cool. It's just a straight RCS, no Inteleon, no barrel, nothing. We're just raw drawing what we need.
That's pretty wild, actually.
It's like it's a very back to the basics kind of deck, which is cool because it's got the 3 Poke Gears and stuff. But we haven't seen decks like this. Like at the very least, we've seen
Sharon Care out, just out healing everyone, which is like a good strategy at this point. There's not a lot of one-shotting, especially in that format.
No, I mean
it's a lot of 2 shots, and if you're just gonna heal every turn, it worked out. Yeah, I mean, you gotta, raw drawing it is pretty tough, but he did his thing. It kind of wraps up. I don't know that format. I thought that format was okay. I don't know. I think it had a good mixture of like skill-based decks and your little straightforward Mews and stuff like that, which is nice.
We had some like weird peaks where like Worlds was a little bit interesting, I think is the best way to put it, where like players just kind of defaulted to a little bit more of aggressive decks to counter and try to win a couple of those rounds, and that's why we saw Arc Pika's making it to the top of the bracket. But then we saw this weekend in a more controlled 14-15 round meta that Arc Pika's kind of floated back to the bottom. Like they couldn't really hold their own against the big boys, and we saw like these Mews, the Palkias, like decks that we would expect doing well like as usual, like in a bigger, like longer controlled environment, when there's more variance, more things going kind of crazy. We saw that coming in, but format's done. I mean, I for one, I'm glad, and we're left with probably the shortest tournament window we have all season, which is until the end of November, or like the last weekend of November. We have Lost Origin, which is only 2 months, but we've got 2 months of Lost Origin format.
Yeah, which is gonna bring a lot of change, which is kind of cool. But we'll jump into that later. Let's talk the announcements on the CP. We get nothing changed, which
nope, it's literally a copy pasta from last year.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of tough. It's kind of. I mean, I think a lot of people like thought that might happen. But
it's disheartening because I know a lot of players compete. Like it's hard to. Okay, I'll put it this way, because this is a little bit of Twitter discourse that was also happening. And I mean, while I think that I would like to see more players play for fun, and enjoy the game, it's really hard to justify going to a regionals with how expensive flying and hotels are these days, as well as a $70 entry with not even you getting your Matter promo like you promised. I got neither, so
I got neither. I didn't get none either. I went up there. I was like, I'm here. They're like, I got this, and I was like, I don't want this, and I laughed. I was like, what is this? But all right.
I think it's hard to justify, especially when the tournaments are getting to like 800 plus pretty regularly. Like back in the day, getting to 800 was like a wowza. Like I think this one was the biggest regionals by far this past weekend, and like the number is only going to keep growing. So I think Pokemon needs to do something to accommodate it. Like I don't know if it's bumping up the points in general, adding more money tiers in general. But I think my biggest gripe with before we even touch on the CP subject is like, I think one thing that I've noticed over the pandemic and even now is that like local level events like 1Ks, these things, they're thriving. They're having a fantastic time. Like 40, 50 people showing up, 20 plus on weeknights. Like I've noticed like in a lot of people's scenes, like local events are doing well. And that's because the stores are providing like adequate pricing back, or like the entry fee becomes the pool. Pokemon doesn't do that for cups. Like Pokemon provides a mat and that's it. Have a good time. Which I think is a major flaw if you want to grow the game. So if you are watching this and if you are Pokemon, for example, like please do something to support the local scene better and do something with regionals, because I get that ICs and Worlds are your biggest shows and you do great on those, but like that's 5 events a year. There's a myriad of other stuff that needs to be taken care of throughout the year. So BFL for regionals and SPEs are 6 for the season again, which means if you pick up the minimum, which is like 6 sets of 30 points, that's 180. Which is not even halfway there, which is a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I played 15 rounds to go 9-4-2, which I think the average player already thinks is like a pretty crazy feat, and I walked out with 50 points. So that's not a lot. That's not a lot.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when like there's people that didn't make day 2 that got 40 points.
Or 30, even less.
Yeah.
Even less. Yeah. Like ICs as a whole will give out a ton of points as well, like as usual. Like ICs are like the points givers, but obviously they did announce the LAIC date, which will be Thanksgiving weekend in America, which is November 25th through 27th will be the event.
Yeah.
But that is an expensive weekend for people to travel because it's Thanksgiving. Flights are not cheap. Travel is not cheap. It's a little bit late. And as a whole, it's just like not
worth it. Yeah.
Not the best EV for like your money for points ratio. So internationals are a little bit of a pay to win, like pay to get there. Like you still have to perform, obviously, but they are more pricey than regionals. But if you have like the option to go to an IC or like 2 regionals, I would choose the IC every time.
Correct.
It's a better experience in general. Like, and I guess if you're not celebrating stuff with Thanksgiving with your family, like could be cool.
Could be cool.
Like for me, our family's never been a traditional Thanksgiving family because we're Indian, and so like that's not really part of our culture. Right. So Thanksgiving's usually just like I come home for holidays, my sister comes home for the holidays, we chill. Like that's pretty much it. Like, or we go to a family member's place and chill. Like that's it. That's all we do. So it's just a nice 4-day holiday for me. So it works out great because I don't have to take more than a day off of work, which is great. Right. But for other people, I understand how it's a problem.
Yeah, it's tough. I like my plane ticket would be like $800.
Mine was $1,100, dude. Full transparency.
That's crazy.
Which is $500 more than what I paid last LAIC.
Yeah, no. I'm like, especially at the level that I'm playing at right now. I don't think I'm at, like, I'm not playing well. So I'm like, it's just let me get in the zone better and then start deciding whether I'm gonna spend more money. Because you're right. Like at the end of the day. I see it on Twitter all the time, like, oh, it's not about, like, chasing an invite, it's just about having fun, and I'm like, there ain't nothing else in the game. Like, what else are you gonna do?
I simply dislike people that tell people what to do. Like, if you want to come play, have fun, like, that's your prerogative. Yeah. But I don't think it's worth dismissing a player who can get, like, if they come to Baltimore, for example, I saw a lot of posts this weekend that people would get discouraged after not performing and saying, like, okay, my invite streams are dead. And it's understandable. Like, if that's all you want to play for, that's all you want to play for. Like in the last couple of years, getting an invite has been the only goal because Pokemon has cut down on support at local levels and increased it at like higher, like not even increased, like I don't know, like it's
actually
been the same,
decreased.
It's been the same fucking shit for the last like 6 years at the top level. Like
nothing has changed. They took away the 250 for top 64, right?
That was only a 1 season thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, I don't know. I shit the bed, and obviously, like in my head, I'm like, how many of these regionals am I go to? Is it possible? It's like, at least write it out till January. Like in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna write it out till January. See what the local scene looks like. What happens then?
yeah, whatever they announce with locals. For those of you
Yeah.
watching, they did, like, I think we mentioned this last time as well, but they did say locals will be coming back in early 2023.
Yeah.
Whether that is January or like with the launch of Scarlet Violet, it remains to be seen. And what we're actually getting also remains to be seen.
Right.
Because if Pokemon ever feels like they don't have enough invites for their own projection for Worlds, they'll bump up the number. And they did that in 2017 season. But we don't know what that is because they give us zero transparency, which is absolutely miserable. So that's cool.
It's super miserable. I think like communication would just be so much better.
Yeah.
Like
once a couple week, like just like a news conference or like a press conference.
something, like anything. Like if you go to I last time I looked, the regionals for what is it? Toronto was still wrong on their website.
Yeah, I think it literally took Azul tweeting that it was wrong, and then
They fixed it?
they fixed it. Yes.
Okay. I was like yesterday when I looked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
literally
fixed
took
it.
Azul tweeting.
That's
to say
hilarious.
something.
Like, it's just like little things like that. Like how does that go? How does it even get posted? Like
I don't know.
it makes you feel like they don't care. That's like what it makes you feel. Like it's a burden. Like it's like, oh, I need to post this. Yeah.
It's just completely unacceptable the way they handle themselves in that regard.
Yeah.
I do feel like they need to like have just someone like set to do that kind of a job because I don't know, it's like really just disheartening to see some of this like them continuously like not only like giving us wrong information but also misinformation. Like it's bad.
It's super late and just like I don't like it's hard to just call anything super late, but like it's just like I think it was like 2 days before the regional that we found out how many points we can get at the regional. I was like, that's a little like insane. Like,
I mean we got it, but it's just like a little late.
It is what it is. I don't know. There's really nothing you could do other than like I don't know, tweet out like Azul does.
I mean, we have a few very powerful voices in the community, and I think they should be using it for positive change rather than social media clout is like my biggest thing. And I think Azul is the best example of someone who only uses their voice for positive change, and we see the positive change happening when he says something. So definitely encourage your
I think Chip as well. Chip does
Chip is
well.
very good. Yeah, Chip does well. Chip
like even with the Baltimore stuff, he made a tweet, but obviously, and that stuff got fixed right away. And he talked to, was it Christy and
Christine? Yeah, he said. I think the tweet said he spoke to Christine, and Christine's doing her best to make things right, because she wants to make sure that like everyone is good. I understand what happened at Baltimore is like pretty unacceptable in terms of like players not getting mats and promos. But I also understand it from Christine's side where I assume like the venue was booked out for them and she was given very little turnaround time from Worlds to plan for Baltimore because I know Christine was working at Worlds. So like she was at Worlds with the rest of us and had to come back and plan this entire event. And I can't imagine the turnaround time was like appealing, you know, like I can't imagine it was easy to get that all done in like the 4 weeks, especially because I'm sure Pokemon was not super cooperative on their side.
Correct. Like the whole thing's just a shit show, and Baltimore obviously wasn't like most people didn't like the city, which like even when I talk to you, you're like, hey, like don't walk around downtown. It's not like the safest place.
No, I still hold that.
I agree too. When I walked around, it didn't feel, even during the day, it felt sketchy. There was a lot of homeless. There's a lot of
it's not a terrible city. It's just not the safest city.
Yeah, it's not like the safest. So it was kind of awkward, but overall the venue was okay. I think the seating was well. The tournament, I think the tournament ran smooth. We had good outcomes. I think there's a lot of prominent names that made day 2, which was nice to see too.
Day one did run a little bit slow, I think. But
Oh,
I think
it did.
Day one was a little bit slow across the board. But I think overall, I think it was like really cool to. Also the venue was like really hot. Like that was great. Like the venue was like uncomfortably unbearable.
Okay.
Like I couldn't, like I don't know, I was just uncomfortable.
Okay, it definitely wasn't the best tournament or regional I've ever been to, but like I don't know. I've been to tournaments where they have paper deck lists. Right? I know we're like not there anymore. Like we're in the future, but I think
it was probably one of the worst ones in the modern era. But I
agree.
This might be the first and last time we have a Baltimore Regionals.
Yeah,
is how I
probably
put it. Like, and I think this is probably the first and last time we have one. It's a very cool, easy location to get to, but I think we can just go down a little bit to go to DC. But I think DC is also really expensive. So
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll move past that. I think it sucked. We're moving over to the middle of nowhere now. We'll see how that goes. Yeah,
we had a lot of top players, like you were mentioning in day 2 of,
which was nice to see. Actually,
it felt like a kind of a cool like reunion. We saw Piper, Isaac, Andrew Kennett, Makani Tran, Jeremy Gamilla, Nicholas Moffitt, Jordan Duggar, and Jack Moore make top 8, with top 16 having notable players like Calvin Connor, Isaiah Bradner, Adler Pierce, Andy Zhang, Drew Cate, Azul Garcia Grego, Justin Bakari, and Christian Labella. Drew Cate, for those who don't know, was our Daytona Regional champion last year, and I think Drew also has a top 4 in there somewhere. So Drew was a very good player, like pre-pandemic, and I think Drew opted to save their money to play in Worlds this upcoming year, so we didn't see them too much post-pandemic. But for those of you who may forget, Drew is a very good player. Azul Justin, like household names, everyone knows him. Christian Labella, another one of those age-up seniors who proved themselves after the first. Like I don't think I saw their name do super well the first couple tournaments, but in the back half of the season, I know Christian Labella made top 32 at Worlds, top 16 at this regionals. Like that's nothing to scoff at. We see top 32 some other big names like Isaiah Rufus, Steven Varesco, who got top 8 at NAIC this past year, Tord Beklev. I don't need a name structure for Tord. Caleb Gedimer, another name. Tanner Hurley, Ty Palekia, Harris Knorr, and then in top 64, more names that you would know, like myself, Danny, Xander, Grant Manley, like a lot of guys that you would expect to be in a day 2. But it was really cool to have like a lot of really notable players in day 2, and it was a lot of fun to just be there and play, because it was a lot of I think day 2 is just a different experience, and it's a lot of fun to be there in general. Now we can shift that to Peoria, because Peoria will be trying to do it in a week and a half. That's crazy.
I know.
And Peoria will have our first kickoff of Lost Origin, which would be really interesting to see, because we have a Singapore regionals to look at and Japan's results to look at, but besides that, we don't really have much else to indicate what Lost Origin is going to look like. And given I think this tournament's like 800 people already minimum, I don't actually know how to register Peoria. I'm not registered, so I can't see.
I don't know either. I'm not either. I'm not going.
But I know that there's a lot of people going.
I know there's a lot
of people are excited. There's a lot of room for innovation with the Lost Box, or like the Lost Zone engine, Comfy, plus like Mirage Gate gives us a lot of options to play with. Chorus Experiment, like these are really, really good cards to kind of just bring out these like unexplored stage 1s, or like single prizes, basics that need weird energy requirements. We have Thornton to kind of make some more combos or ideas come out of nowhere. And I don't know, it's cool. It's cool to see these potential ideas come
I agree. I like whenever you throw in a whole new engine that's like a draw engine, like it becomes... It changes
how the game is supposed to fundamentally work.
And there's like a lot more things that can happen. You can take the old deck and throw in a new engine in it, and it might just work better. Because I think, I don't know, maybe the late night or one of the limitless ones, they played Dialga with the Mirage Gate, and I'm like, that almost sounds quicker, faster. Like to pull that off, that doesn't sound bad. I think it won too, which is like super cool to think about. And then there's a bunch of archetypes, like there's Zorak, there's Cramorant, that's just single prize attackers, there's Giratina, what is the slug dragon Pokemon?
Oh, Gudra.
Gudra's being talked about. I don't know how great that is.
There's a lot of cool engines, like obviously like we have Giratina, Kyurem, like you mentioned, Gudra, Lost Box Engine, like all these decks are like the new kids on the block. But Mew is still going to be able to be played even with Drapion in the format. RCS will still see play. We'll still see Palkia. Like obviously, I think Palkia is still very, very strong. Like the meta does not change, but also the meta changes. Like it changes. Like this is probably the first big significant meta change we've had in a long time.
Correct.
And that's like important to note because like this brings a lot of decks. Like this gives a lot of decks a chance to kind of make a name for themselves.
Yeah, I think,
and that
there's a lot of creativity that can come from this.
Yeah, I am personally not I'm not going, but I am really excited to see what people come up with. Like there are some crazy deck builders out there, like Drew Bennekennet, who like put the effort in early, and you will usually come up with something that people have not expected, and that will kind of catch a tournament by storm. And so I'm really excited to see what people come up because this engine has like a lot of possibilities.
Mirage Gate is like an insane card.
I agree. It's an absolutely nuts card. So like I think it'll be really cool to see what the possibilities and the prospect of this new format will look like.
Yeah. We locally we had a tournament that was in this format. There's obviously a lot of people played old stuff because they didn't have the cards, but there's a lot of Zoroark. I think Zoroark's like a fan favorite of people. I think people are gonna try to make that work.
I think so too. I've seen. I was talking to someone else recently, and they were saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think the way from like the online tournaments that I've been looking at, I think the way people are playing it right now is just not the right way to play it. I think it's the most like straightforward. Like if you like picked up the cards and you're like, oh, this is the deck. That's how you play, which is just like double turbo.
4 ofs down the line, which is like really pretty.
Yeah.
In general, like how a deck should work. And I like that kind of consistency, like that level of consistency from a deck.
Yeah.
But is it really good is the question.
Yeah, that's what like it comes down to is does it hit the damage, is it consistent, and does it trade well? And I think through more testing, I think we'll get a good list for that. Or people just realize it just can't compete.
Yeah.
We get, was it Lost World or Lost something? Lost City, which makes the Charizard deck like sketchy, but I still think that the Charizard list with the Mirage Gate and engine is really good too.
I agree. Yeah, it's an insane card in general.
You just have to be more worried about, like, to be honest, it's better because there's more attackers in it. Like you can go into the Sableye, you can go into the Cramorant. You don't have to attack with Inteleon. Like there's some, I think the deck just gets better, so I could see that just winning. But I don't know. There's a lot of people, like, I've seen a 4 Empoleon list, which it's not going to be good. There's no way that's good.
No, those are just like those meme ladder decks that people are trying out, yeah.
I'm like, there's no way it's good. Like, we're just trying to beat the Comfy. Okay, sure. I don't even know if that even, I mean, I guess it would beat the Comfy because there's no way around it.
That
but
makes
like,
sense.
I don't know. In some of my testing, I put an Empoleon in my deck, and like the Comfy just plays like rope, gets rid of your Empoleon, and then does its shit. And like, it's like, oh, all right, my Empoleon's not that good. It's once I get the stuff in the discard pile, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I think we'll get cool lists. I think we'll get a lot of standard lists going in this. I think Salt Lake will bring more innovation because we're gonna have more time. We're gonna have more stuff to look at.
But after Salt Lake, our chapter in North America with Lost Origin will close, and Europe's will begin, which is going to be really interesting because there are crazier deck builders over there, like Tord and Robin, and like these guys and Pedro.
That'd be fun
Stefan. Too. Like we've seen these guys time and time again innovate with their crazy lists. Our world champion Andre, like all these guys are over there. and they'll have 2 regionals over there. So Lost Origin won't end with just us in America. We'll have the first 2 Lost Origin events, but then it'll pan over to our friends over in Europe, where they will have 2 regionals, or I think a special on regionals.
Yeah,
I don't want to like misspeak, but I think that's what it. Let me pull it up right now. Yeah, they've got they have 2 regionals. It's Lille and Warsaw, and then they will be able to basically like show off what's going to happen there, and that will end one of the shortest formats we have in history in Lost Origin.
Because the new set drops December.
New set drops the first week of November, being legal for Latin American internationals.
Really?
Yep.
It's already dropping in November.
Yep.
That's crazy.
It's very soon. It's very soon.
That is. And is this what set is this one? Is that the one with? Oh, is that the one with Lugia? Wow. Wow. I remember seeing people post Lugia.
It marks the end of our Sword and Shield block.
Yep, that's true.
So after this, crazy. I think the next set we get, unless we get like a mini set or something in between, it will be Scarlet Violet.
Yeah, so, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I think it's nuts.
At the end of the day, if you chase your invite for TCG until January and you're not close, jump on the VGC. They're starting up in January.
They will start, yes, at that point, yeah.
Like maybe they'll be like, hey, you only need like 200 points for VGC or what. I don't know what it is for VGC, but maybe it's gonna be a lot less because they're only gonna have like half a season.
Yeah, I don't know what theirs will be, but that'll be interesting to see.
That'll be interesting too. I guess. I don't know. I've always liked VGC, so maybe that's my future if TCG doesn't go well for me.
The first one's in San Diego, so it's not far for you.
I know, it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't know. I'm super excited for Salt Lake. Obviously, I have to do well. I did horrible. I switched up decks. I practiced Mew for like 2 weeks. I get like a day before. My roommate sends me a Palkia list. I get to the room. Everyone in the room is basically playing Palkia. The deck looks like it's running fine. I'm like, you know what? I'm playing Palkia. I get to the tournament. I play round 1, game 1, and I realize I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm like, Drizzle for what? There's like a point where like,
not good, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Like
playing Inteleon Engine, like I think, like I because I played so much Inteleon, like Palkia specifically leading up to Worlds, I felt like it was the best play for me because. I thought like Palkia is just like so natural for me. I put it at Milwaukee. I put it in NAIC, albeit I didn't get many games in NAIC. And I prepped a lot for Worlds with it. So, I mean, Palkia felt so natural and easy for me to play. The problem with Inteleon engines is that I think you brick like 3 out of 10 of your games, which is like basically what happened. My tournament was like 3 out of 10 of my games were losses on bricks, or like losing to late game Roxanne. But I also won a lot of games off late game Roxanne, so I can't complain. Sure. But it didn't feel like the skill difference was too high between my deck and, let's say, like a Mew deck. Like I think it felt like very even across the board, like, or the percentage points were like maybe 55-45. So it really felt like I could have played something easier and just had a better day or like a similar day. But obviously hindsight's 2020.
Right.
And I mean, like every player likes their own thing. And I think Lost Zone Engine's a completely different beast. Like I think obviously the hardest deck in this format to play was the Arc Zard, like the Intel Zard deck.
Correct.
Sorry, and like that one was the most rewarding to see players do well with. But besides that one, I don't think.
Yeah, I just feel like if you are gonna play Inteleon Engine, you need to understand everything that's in your deck, because there was like I've been to a lot of tournaments, and I'm not going to sit here and be the guy that's like, oh, I never blame it on like RNG. But I can tell you straight up, these 3 games that I played, they're totally my fault. Totally just don't know what I'm doing. Totally was just bad. It was a terrible decision. There was like a point in like one of the games I needed an energy. I used 1 bucket. I drizzle to get bucket. 2 buckets are prized. So is Melanie. So in my head, I'm like, I have no way to... there's no way to get energy. I do nothing. I pass. The next turn goes, I do nothing, I pass. The next turn goes, I search my deck. I have Training Court. And I'm like, I'm literally stupid and I shouldn't be playing this game. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, there's like another one where like, I was going to do like 220. I thought out this whole process to do 220 with an Inteleon. I had Leons, I had everything to do it, and all I had to do, like I had 3 drizzles, and I had Inteleon in hand. I'm like, all right, all I have to do is evolve this one, and then scoop up net, evolve, get all the pieces I need.
Yeah.
I evolved the active that has the energy, so I can't scoop up net. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'm literally just dumb. I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just like, I think that's such a more important thing to understand. Like, your deck is just better than to just like it gets to a point where if you don't understand your deck, like, definitely shouldn't play it at all.
I agree, 100%.
Like, matchups and stuff is cool and all, but if you're doing those simple errors that like playing the game, like, you don't know what you're doing, like, you're not going to win no matter what. So I should have just stuck with Mew. I knew every card in my list. It's straightforward. I could have played a lot better, but we live and move on. Basically, we just don't live, learn, move on. Working hard towards Salt Lake. Definitely gonna stick with whatever I'm testing and
yeah. Stick to your guns, guys. The next couple of weeks, like, I know there'll be a lot of new options and new things coming your way. Make sure you play what you practice a lot of the time, because unless it's really crazy and revolutionary, it probably won't change like what you want to do.
Yeah, like, going in with no games played is probably not the answer. I know a lot of people like post on Twitter and stuff, oh, I've never played a game, and then they go like 9-0 or whatever, and you're like, oh man,
the difference is those people usually have probably played enough games of the format to kind of be able to do that. So
correct.
if there's a deck I pick up last minute and don't know what I'm doing, I've done decent sometimes, but it's never been like a crazy good finish.
No, I've done decent too with a couple lists. Like, I picked up Lissy at NAIC once, and I started like 3-0, and I think I ended like 6-3 or something. But like, it's just that deck was just like, it was just different. Like, it wasn't super, like, it wasn't an Inteleon engine, you know. Especially when it's something like that where you have to make decisions on the fly, you shouldn't play it unless you're used to playing Inteleon engine. Which I didn't play anything like going into this tournament. I didn't play at Worlds. I probably didn't play for like 5-6 months basically. Then I just tried to pick up an Inteleon engine and had no clue what I was doing, which is just dumb, and we shouldn't do that. So if you're watching this podcast, don't do that. All right, we're moving on. We're gonna do better. Hopefully, going to Salt Lake. And we're gonna have a lot of time for practice. We're gonna see what does well in a week and a half. We're gonna practice up there. There's gonna be a lot of variance. The online tournaments are nuts. Like, the amount of data that we have. I mean, we don't have to say it's great data, but it's some data. There's vast amounts of data now that we can look at that we didn't have in the past, which is really nice. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this format. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I think the one prizes are going to do really well.
I think we'll see more one prizers like doing really well. Yeah. It'll be like Malamar format a little bit, like early post Worlds, where we'll have our big guys like Mewtwo. Like in that format, it was like Mewtwo and like Rashizard being our big guys, and then having single prizes like Malamar like be good. Like, I think like Lost Box is like our Malamar this format, and if it sets up, it's really, really strong.
Yeah, I think obviously Palkia and Mia are going to do well. RCS is probably going to be fine.
Yep.
And then you'll have your one prizers, and then you'll have a few other decks. But I really don't think a lot changes. I hope pace of play. I think people got to start thinking about when these one prizers are become more frequent, because getting 3 games in with one prizers is almost impossible, to be honest.
It's really hard, yeah.
Which sucks, but yeah, if you're gonna play one prizer, I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you, because like, I don't even the best players like that play super fast is tough. Because like, no matter what, you have to make decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be there, so we'll see what happens at Peoria.
Yeah.
I haven't actually played too much with Lost Origin cards, so I don't know how pace of
at least
play
we don't have to shuffle. That helps.
Yeah, like, I don't know what the like end game is gonna look like for people, or like what's gonna happen.
Okay.
So I think we'll see. I think we'll see. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in Peoria. Should be a fun stream.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like Pokemon's just exciting, even though like I
No,
didn't do
I love the
well.
game. I absolutely love the game.
Yeah, I didn't do well. I got back to the hotel. Obviously, I'm upset at myself for switching, but like in my head, I'm I posted it. I think on Facebook. I'm like, hey, Pokemon season starts in Salt Lake, right? Like that's where it starts, right? Like
Yeah,
just
I mean,
like
the
get
thing about
over it.
the thing about BFL 6, if you're attending enough events, is that
Yeah,
you can make up your season anywhere. And so, I
that's what
mean,
I'm
don't get
saying.
discouraged until you hear about cups and challenges yet, because we will have time to make.
Yeah,
We'll have time to make that decision of how
like
you like it.
obviously, like in your head, if like Baltimore was like you're going to like 2 regionals, 3 regionals, Baltimore was one of them, and you shit the bed on it. Obviously, you're gonna feel bad. In my head, I don't know how many regionals I'm going to, so like I feel bad, but like my capabilities of going to a lot of regionals, I could. Do I want to spend that type of money? That's a decision I have to make throughout the season. So like I just don't feel too bad. I'm like, all right, let's just start in Salt Lake. I have a good testing group. I have locals that are a lot of locals are going to Salt Lake because it's very close. So a lot of people are excited. A lot of people to talk to. A lot more better environment I think than I had going into this Baltimore, where like no one was. People are already moved on. Everyone I talked to already moved on to Origins. They're doing their thing.
But yeah,
No one locally was going to this. Like it was all just like I was kind of on my own. I was playing Mew, and then I switched it up. Where like this one feels a lot more organic. There's a lot more excitement around it, and should be more fun, especially after Illinois or whatever it is.
yep, I agree.
I wish it was Chicago, but it is what it is. Um, I don't know. My prediction is Charizard wins again. In some facet, I think the deck's just really good.
I think like a loss to an engine will do very well for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm thinking.
I expect.
I think
I
Mirage
expect it
gets
to do
really
well.
strong. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Um,
But yeah, that's all I got for this week. You got anything to end it on?
no, I'm pretty much done there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, let's just keep everything positive. Let's have fun this year. Yeah, that's all I got. Rule, it was nice talking to you. I'll see you next week, my
Good luck,
dude.
everyone at Peoria. I mean, we'll talk
Yeah.
again before then, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk next week. We'll go into like a deeper dive next week on some decks, Limitless, what we're testing and whatnot. If you guys have any ideas or anything you want to hear about on the podcast, comment down below. We listen to everything, so yeah, do that. But for now, we scooping it up.